tried to silence him. They erased his name. But he rebuilt from nothing. He fought every algorithm. They tried again and failed. Now he's back, stronger. From blackout to spotlight, he's at the White House, at the top of his game. Franchi lives.
You are about to enter another dimension. The dimension of truth, unfiltered and uncensored. Welcome to the Raw Feed with Gary Franchi.
Welcome to the Raw Feed. I'm Gary Franchi, coming to you live from the heart of America. Unfiltered truth to millions on YouTube. Hit those donation links below. Every contribution powers our gear. Every contribution keeps the party going. Help me help you. Hit those donation links. YouTube channel memberships. Special acknowledgement in the fellowship. Your super chats keep me standing. Your rumble rants fuel every round.
Say hello to super chats.
Spread the intel. Every repost extends our reach.
Super chats fuel this spectacle. Your rumble rants give me strength.
24/7 members-only community, behind-the-scenes discussions.
Connect with fellow patriots.
My mama always said, life is like sharing the truth. Text this stream to your friends. What if I told you the app is real? Download the Next News Network app. Android users, take the Google Play path. iPhone users, App Store awaits.
The Biden border crisis, that's right, the Biden border crisis, just reached a terrifying new milestone when Mexican cartel drones forced the Pentagon to shut down all airspace over El Paso for 10 consecutive days. I'm Gary Franchi, this is the Raw Feed. When aviation experts are calling an unprecedented airspace closure something seriously wrong, you know we've crossed into uncharted territory. The Federal Aviation Administration doesn't ground an entire major American city without extraordinary circumstances, and what we're learning about cartel operations on our sovereign soil should alarm every patriotic American. Now, this day in history takes us back to February 11th, 1990, when Nelson Mandela walked free from Victor Verster prison after 27 years of imprisonment. His release marked the beginning of South Africa's transition from apartheid to democratic rule, now fundamentally reshaping the nation's political structure and inspiring freedom movements worldwide. Let's talk about freedom right here at home. Because while cartels are flying military-grade drones over American cities, Democrats are fighting tooth and nail against basic election security measures. The SAVE Act battle has reached a fever pitch, with liberal politicians now performing Olympic-level mental gymnastics to explain why requiring identification to vote somehow violates civil rights. John Ossoff claims he supports voter ID after years of opposing it, while Hakeem Jeffries deflects every question about overwhelming bipartisan public support for election integrity measures. When caught red-handed opposing common sense reforms that 80% of Americans support, those career politicians, they just lie and hope that nobody notices their hypocrisy. But of course, we are here to call them out. Trump's economic policies, they continue delivering results that make establishment media squirm. January's jobs report shattered expectations, with private sector employment surging far beyond any reasonable forecast, while government employment drops to levels not seen since 1966. That's exactly what America First economics looks like: productive private sector jobs growing while bureaucratic bloat shrinks. Kevin Hassett reports labor force participation hitting its highest level since 2001, combining robust growth with controlled inflation. Construction jobs are booming thanks to massive domestic investment that's flowing back into American communities instead of foreign nations. Speaking of things that make Democrats uncomfortable, newly released Epstein documents reveal President Trump was actively cooperating with law enforcement investigations, contacting police about Ghislaine Maxwell's suspicious behavior years before federal authorities ever took action. These files show Trump describing Maxwell as pure evil and making clear he wanted nothing to do with Epstein's operation. So where are the mainstream media headlines about Trump's cooperation? Where are the Democrat demands for transparency about FBI redactions? The silence is deafening when evidence contradicts their carefully constructed narratives. But perhaps the most powerful voice emerging from today's political chaos comes from within the black community itself, where courageous Americans are speaking truth about which party actually authored legislation devastating their very neighborhoods. Everything bad that's happened to our community lies at the feet of the Democrats. That's what one powerful voice is stating as they cut through the decades of political manipulation. You see, these are not Republican talking points or even conservative spin. These are black Americans examining their community's history and identifying the real architects of policies that destroyed families, criminalized poverty, and perpetuated dependency. And when you look at the actual voting records, the pattern becomes absolutely clear. The 13th Amendment abolishing slavery received 100% Republican support, while Democrats fought to maintain human bondage. The Civil Rights Act of the 1960s passed despite fierce Democrat opposition, including a record-breaking filibuster led by Democrat senators. Yet somehow, through masterful propaganda and cultural manipulation, Democrats convinced entire communities to forget who actually stood with them during freedom's darkest hours. So tonight we're connecting the dots the establishment media refuses to acknowledge. Cartel drones penetrating American airspace to Democrat opposition against election security, from Trump's economic victories to Epstein files revelations, from historical voting records to contemporary black voices demanding accountability. The truth emerges when you follow the evidence instead of the narrative. These are not isolated incidents or coincidental developments. They are symptoms of a deeper battle between America First patriots who believe in sovereignty, security, and constitutional principles versus globalist politicians who spent decades undermining American strength while enriching themselves and their cronies. So stay tuned. We've got quite a show lined up for you tonight. Let's welcome you to it. And Brian, whenever you get a chance, you can just mute yourself, you know, I love hearing all the pots and pans being thrown around over there, but, you know, I know, Brian, you can just close the mic there. Yeah. Yeah. I know you call it music, but some people call it domestic abuse. What's up, Ed3 Nation? Ron the Don. Corinne Lynn. We're N3 fans for life. What's up, James? Sorry. This is Potty Kenny. Chad Laveau. Get him, Franchi. What's up, Chad? Good to see you on the stream, my friend. We got Jose and Karen and Mike Locke, MAGA Hunter. Hope the cartels are safe. We got James Treventi. Nick is in the house, and Jose Spider-Man is here. Well, awesome. Great, we got Spider-Man. All right, guys, we got some news to cover tonight. Make sure you're sharing this stuff out to your social networks. If you're watching on Facebook, Chad, go ahead and hit that share down there and let all your friends know you're watching your best friend. And he's live on the internet right now. Love you, bro. Glad you're here. It's always nice when I see a name. There he is. Happy to be here, brother. Happy to be here. I love it. That's great. I like Salt is here too. So is James. James. I didn't even have to tell James. James already pressed the 1 button. I know what that means. Yeah, you'll have to ask James. I'll let James educate you guys. All right. But yeah, hit the share, copy the link, send it out on your text messages. And if you haven't yet, we do have a new text message notification system. It took me like weeks, literally, of going through regulatory hurdles to get this thing set up, because we can't rely on YouTube to send out text notifications. So I set up my own independent SMS system that you can sign up for. And if you go to rawfeed.live/live, you can fill out the form below, the video player, and you can get on the SMS list. And as soon as the feed goes live, because a lot of you guys have been sitting here waiting for me, right? I know. We've been working on, there's a lot of problems before the show, but as soon as the feed goes live, as soon as the system detects the stream inbound, it triggers the text message notification to anyone who's signed up. So you will not miss a stream. It'll take you directly, it'll actually send you the YouTube URL. So you can just go right to YouTube and watch it. So just a couple cool things that we've been building in the background to make sure you guys are notified. What's up, Chris? Dropping $5.99. Do we have any other super chats? I know we got to get this news going. I could sit here and jawbone with you guys all night, but and Curio. Oh, good God! What do sharks take to stay healthy? Vitamin C. Oh my God! This guy comes every day with the dad jokes. These guys, and then like yesterday, I was like inundated with dad jokes all night long. And some are funny. One of them I didn't quite understand, but even as a dad, I didn't quite get it. Anyway, okay, we got news to cover. Let's get at it, Brian. We can't. We're already behind schedule. We got Grand Old Memes working in the background right now. Our meme lord helping us with our thumbnails, who's been working with us for quite some time. Doesn't get enough credit, to be honest with you. He's kind of a secret weapon here at the Next News Network, I have to say. But if you don't follow him on X, you need to. He's been reposted by President Trump multiple times. The memes he creates are absolutely amazing. And in fact, we're working on new t-shirt designs that will be created by the meme smith himself, Grand Old Memes. So we're still working on some of the bugs in the back end. But soon enough, we're going to have limited edition merch that's only available for a week at a time, crafted by Grand Old Memes himself. So I think you guys are going to really enjoy it when we get it all put together. Designs you won't see anywhere else. Okay, Brian, I'm ready. Mexican cartel drones just breached American airspace over El Paso, Texas. The FAA shut down all flights, the first complete airspace closure since 9/11. But here's what the mainstream media won't tell you about how this crisis was actually resolved and who's really responsible for letting it get this far. You see, this isn't just a border security issue. Think again, no. These were not recreational drones. These were military-grade cartel aircraft penetrating deep into American territory. Your commercial flights were grounded. Your national security was compromised. Fort Bliss had to deploy laser countermeasures near civilian aircraft. This represents a complete breakdown of border control that puts every American at risk. When foreign criminal organizations can shut down major American cities with impunity, we are not talking about immigration anymore. We're talking about an invasion. And the cartels just proved they can ground American aviation whenever they want. So what's next? Your city's airspace? And speaking of threats that most people don't see coming, I do need to tell you about something that could protect you when the next crisis hits. That's right, something's brewing and you can feel it. Cartel drones shutting down American cities, economic uncertainty, global tensions rising. The problem, you never know the full story until after the crash, after the collapse, after it's too late. So here's the brutal truth. You can't protect yourself after. You have to be ready now. So all this uncertainty, all the chaos, the warning signs, they may be pointing to something bigger. And that's why smart Americans are moving portions of their savings into actual physical gold and silver. Central banks are buying this stuff up. It's actually quite hard to get, but Noble Gold Investments makes it simple to own precious metals in an IRA or delivered directly to your door. So don't wait for the next crisis. Visit nextnewsgold.com or call that number on the screen, because when everything else fails, gold does endure, and there's a special gift for you if you call and you mention Next News. But here is the part that will make you furious. Aviation expert Mike Boyd says the FAA doesn't shut down major city airspace for 10 days unless something is seriously wrong. Yet the Pentagon managed to disable these cartel drones and reopen the airspace within hours, once decisive action was taken. So why did it take 10 days? What changed exactly? Now, this is some breaking footage here that was sent to me by our White House correspondent Thomas McCullough earlier today. According to Mexican media reports, a significant military operation underway in Jesus Maria, Sinaloa. So this could in fact be, I mean, you can hear it. This could be related to the drone activity as a counter-offensive. It's still unclear exactly what's going on, but you can see the chaos that's unfolding there in Mexico. It seems to dovetail almost at the exact same time as what was happening in El Paso. So this just in, I mean, look at these choppers. They're flying around. There's crazy stuff happening right there. But the FAA did abruptly close the airspace around El Paso for 10 days for special security reasons. Airline sources tell Reuters the El Paso flight grounding is linked to Pentagon counter-drone operations targeting Mexican cartel drones near the U.S.-Mexico border.
Southwest 1249, are you guys supposed to fly out?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Southwest 1249, are you guys departing again tonight, or is this final flight in?
Nah, we're going to the hotel.
Roger. Just be advised, I guess there's a TFR going into effect. Just pass it on to the Southwest and everybody else. At 0630 for the next 10 days, we're stopped, all ground stopped.
Okay, ground stopped at 0630 for how long?
10 days.
So the airport's totally closed?
Apparently, we just got informed about 30 minutes to an hour ago.
So for 10 days, you guys are not open?
Well, I mean, we'll be here, but no air traffic.
Okay, thanks for that heads up.
Roger. Cargo South 120 Heavy, it just says a security alert, TFR is going into effect.
Yeah. And the U.S. forces disabled the Mexican cartel drones after the cartel's unmanned aircraft breached U.S. airspace near El Paso. Video below, not directly related, but is an example of the existence of the cartel drones. Now, this looks like that's a significant sized drone. That's quite scary, actually. Really? We got the music in the background. Hey! Check out my drone! Looks like they're attaching something to it. They're probably going to be, yeah, they're like attaching drugs or something to it. That was just sent in by Todd. So let's continue. We've got more here. The breaking news hits the wires, but the details are still emerging. Let's see what happens when the cartel drones actually breach the airspace. Unverified footage now shows aerial activity over El Paso as cartel drones reached U.S. airspace. FAA issuing the first shutdown since 9/11. Department of War disabled the drones. Laser countermeasures deployed from Fort Bliss near civilian flights. 10-day ban lifted hours after it began. This is the footage that has been released. There's no audio on it. Reminds me of those drones over New Jersey. Remember that? Yeah, it's hard to make out exactly what's happening here, but apparently this is some of the footage from that moment. Aerial activity over El Paso. So we have some dramatic details of the military response. Now this raises the bigger questions about what this means. International drones allegedly linked to Mexican cartel reported to have violated U.S. airspace, according to official reports. So this is from the international press. Drones over Texas. International media picking up on the story, asking some questions. Back home sources are confirming the Pentagon's involvement. Let's take a look at this from Real America's Voice earlier today.
Continuing to follow this situation about those grounded flights in El Paso. We've been talking about it all morning long. Within the last 30 minutes or so, RAV host David Zier quoting some officials that he's been talking to over at the Pentagon, giving us new information from his sources that apparently what led to all of this is some Mexican cartel drones that were in the airspace over El Paso. The Department of War has apparently, quote, disabled the drones, which I think for most of us, the translation is shot them out of the sky. But those drones are no more over the airspace. But again, it did cause a closure over the airspace overnight. And in fact, we thought that the airspace over El Paso specifically was going to be closed for about 10 days, but it is now back open. And again, David, all of this now as a result of some Mexican drug cartel drones that were in the airspace that the Department of War has now, quote, disabled, shot down in my the way I would translate that. And so the airspace is back open.
Airspace back open. You heard those pilots like, what, 10 days? Are you serious? Pentagons are now on record about the military drone disabling operations and the political reactions pouring in. Colin Rugg, the move to shut down El Paso airspace for 10 days was triggered by the cartel drones. Here's more from Fox.
The temporary closure of airspace over El Paso. It's now been lifted. The agency said there is no threat to commercial aviation. All flights will soon resume as normal. This comes hours after flights in and out of El Paso International Airport were closed, with officials citing special security reasons. So this is good news, but the mystery remains. For those people who are heading home from El Paso, maybe you want to turn around or call your local airline.
And maybe the cartels are freaking out right now, because I don't think Trump's going to take this lightly. Political figures weighing in, official confirmation, but the scope of the incident appears to be larger than initially reported. The no-fly zone over New Mexico, El Paso. It appears Mexican drug cartel drones have entered Texas and New Mexico airspace for several hours. It appears on flight data several fighter jets, police, marine helicopters have been dispatched. Good God. Dude, the cartels do not know what they're messing with, man. They're going to find out what the Department of War means real quick. Situation escalated beyond El Paso. Multi-state airspace violations, massive military response. Aviation experts very alarmed. Jim Ferguson, he's a great follow on X, by the way, 10 days, 0 flights, something very wrong. The FAA doesn't shut down all airspace over a major U.S. city for 10 days unless something is seriously wrong. And here's another post that he made with respect to that situation.
FAA is halting all flights to and from El Paso, Texas for 10 days for unspecified special security reasons. And they're warning that any pilots who don't comply, quote, may be intercepted, detained, and interviewed by law enforcement. El Paso Airport confirming the news in a statement saying, in part, the FAA on short notice issued a temporary flight restriction halting all flights to and from El Paso. Commercial airlines operating out of El Paso are being informed of the restriction, which appears to be security related. Southwest, United, American, and Delta all operate flights there. And Fort Bliss Army Base is right next door.
Makes perfect sense. So the Department of War didn't just disable the cartel drones, they sent a message. After years of weakness at the border, America finally responding with overwhelming force. Laser countermeasures, fighter jets, marine helicopters, the full arsenal deployed to protect American airspace. The cartels learned real quick what happens when you mess with American sovereignty under strong leadership. See, this is what real border security looks like. Not catch and release, not looking the other way, but immediate overwhelming response to foreign threats on American soil. The cartels thought they could intimidate America with their drones. Well, they were wrong. When our military is unleashed to do their job, problems get solved very fast. Okay, no 10-day closures, no drawn-out negotiations, just swift American justice. And the message is clear. American airspace belongs to America. So do you think this kind of decisive action is exactly what we need more of at our border? Drop your thoughts below and hit that subscribe button and check out the Next News merch shop for gear that shows you stand with America first. All right, looks like Bill's rules came in. The app will not let me renew membership. Which app are you speaking of, my friend? Are you speaking of the Next News Network app, or are you speaking of YouTube membership? Don't know what that means exactly. I'll check on my dashboard and see if there's anything weird going on. But I'm not seeing anything weird at the moment. Yeah, so something cool today, guys, as we're getting started into this next topic. I spent the day building a complete mobile system that I can bring to the White House. It'll have a Starlink connection. It'll be able to transmit a live feed directly to this little device I've got on my desk here. So you can see I'm actually monitoring this camera in front of me. And the camera that I have on this system, this rig, same camera I'm using in the studio. So I built a complete local network that relies on Starlink for internet connectivity. And then it will transmit that network into this device as I'm sitting in the briefing room. So I can set up a camera right there at the White House and monitor actions when I'm there. So I could be in the briefing room doing work while still monitoring activities that are taking place outside. And then if I need to, I can literally press a button and I can go live at that moment to broadcast whatever's happening out there. So there's really nothing like it out there in the world. I just built it myself. I mean, there's other broadcast tools that people use, but nothing quite like this. Anyway, okay, let's get to our next topic here, Brian, shall we? What do you say? I know we got to talk about Bill's rules. App will not let me renew membership. I'm not sure what to say there, but hopefully you can get it sorted out. But we're going to get to this next topic because we have to talk about the SAVE Act. Some good news, too. John Ossoff suddenly supports voter ID after years of opposing it. Hakeem Jeffries is dodging questions about overwhelming Democrat support for voter verification. Elizabeth Warren is caught misleading Americans about the SAVE Act. The left's entire narrative on voting rights is collapsing in real time, and what we're discovering about their true motives will shock you. See, this isn't just about checking IDs at polling places. No. The SAVE Act exposes the Democrats' entire election strategy. They spent years calling voter ID racist while secretly knowing most Americans, including their own voters, support it. Now they're scrambling to flip-flop before the elections. Michigan officials destroyed election records in direct violation of federal law. Philadelphia clerks admit illegal aliens vote in local elections. The Congressional Black Caucus claims civil rights are under attack for simply requiring proof of citizenship. You see, they're not protecting democracy, they are protecting their ability to manipulate it. Speaking of fighting for what is right, I do need to share something personal that's changed everything for my family. You see, for years, my wife battled chronic pain and anxiety from her diagnosis, endless doctor's visits, treatments that didn't help. Watching her struggle daily, it broke my heart. Seeing her suffer while so-called experts offered no real solutions. And then Jonathan Otto introduced us to red light therapy, and everything changed. Her pain vanished, anxiety lifted, energy returned. Just like Democrats hide the truth about elections, the medical establishment hides natural healing solutions. Now, red light therapy uses specific wavelengths to heal at the cellular level, reducing inflammation, boosting energy, improving sleep. While politicians lie about voter integrity, red light therapy delivers honest results that you can feel. Don't let anyone suppress the truth about your health. And just like we're exposing election fraud, we're exposing health solutions that actually work. So go to the link in the description and use our promo code for your exclusive discounts. But here's the kicker. Elon Musk just confirmed what we've all suspected. Democrats are importing voters at scale. It's not conspiracy theory anymore. It's actually a documented fact. The New York Times admitted 800,000 non-citizens can now vote in New York elections. Speaker Johnson says Democrats want illegals to vote, and the evidence just keeps mounting. Even their own officials are getting caught on hidden camera. And we do have this good news just in as the battle intensifies. The SAVE Act has officially passed the House and now moving to the Senate. Wall Street Apes writes this mandates in-person presentation. Voters must show documents directly to an election official or office. This would effectively end online voter fraud. Let's listen to Steve Scalise with the news.
To the Senate to give them even more incentive to go protect the Senate. Over to the Senate to give them even more incentive to go protect the sanctity of every American's vote. And that is the SAVE Act plus a picture ID requirement. Look, you can't even get on an airplane. You can't go to a bar tonight without showing a picture ID. Yet there are people in many states where the states actually have laws saying you can't show ID, which is a recipe for fraud, for stealing your vote if you're voting legally so that somebody can come behind you illegally in another country and actually vote and steal your vote. Because if somebody's voting illegally, they're stealing your vote if you're following the rules. So SAVE Act plus picture ID, we're going to bring that too, send that to the Senate. I think a lot of Americans would like that protection because if they're following the rules, they just want everybody else to. What makes people angry is when you see boxes of ballots showing up 2 weeks after an election, and then next thing you know, lo and behold, a Democrat takes the lead after being behind for 3 weeks after Election Day. And then somebody who voted by mail in the military, they're overseas fighting to defend our freedoms. Their votes that got in legally before the election are being nullified by somebody illegally. It needs to stop. We're going to have a bill to do just that.
And it's long overdue. I mean, do we need to explain what happened in 2020? People are giving Scott Presler a lot of credit for his efforts. Calling him Paul Revere. Scott Presler, you did it. Representative Anna Paulina Luna. The House has kept its promise to deliver the SAVE Act for the American people. Now it's the Senate's turn to send it to Trump's desk.
On this vote, the yeas are 218 and the nays are 213. The bill is passed without objection. A motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Let's go. Great news. Scott Presser posting this. Oh my gosh, the House passed the Save America Act. Bipartisan legislation has support from 83% of Americans. It's time to bring the Save America Act to the Senate floor for a debate. The Liz variant writes, the stop infantizing minorities like they're incapable of doing basic tax. It's insulting. They require ID to vote in the UK and France, Germany, Spain, Italy, Netherlands, Belgium, Austria, Portugal. The list goes on and on. But who can ever forget this video? Remember when Kamala Harris says that black people don't have access to printers? Like, what planet is she on?
You're going to have to Xerox or photocopy your ID to send it in to prove you are who you are. Well, there are a whole lot of people, especially people who live in rural communities, who don't. There's no Kinko's, there's no Office Max near them. People have to understand that when we're talking about voter ID laws, be clear about who you have in mind and what would be required of them to prove who they are.
I remember. Even like your local Walgreens or even gas station would have a copy machine. You put a dime in it and you can make a copy. This woman here, Kamala Harris, thank God we dodged a bullet there, literally. The comparison sets up the perfect contrast. Democrats framing the exact same requirement as voter suppression. Representative Teresa, LF, Democrat Hispanic Caucus, and all 96 Democrat women of the House are fighting for women to keep their right to vote. What is this? Is this women's suffrage all over again? We stand with all women against the latest voter suppression effort. I'm just reminded of that scene. What was it? Mary Poppins. You know, the women's suffrage marching around with their little banners across their chest. We're suppressed. Hands off our right to vote. Seriously, these people are just look at how angry they are. How dare you? The League of Women Voters.
Republican Save Act is voter suppression, plain and simple, and it will impact women the most. Remember, the states already require voter ID. But this bill eliminates online registration.
Yep.
And in rural areas, like the district I represent, women could be forced to drive 5 hours round trip just to vote.
Oh my God. Well, right there, that's a problem. A woman in a car for 5 hours? Yeah.
Working women can't afford to take that time off of work. And by the way, who's going to care for the kids while you're driving 5 hours to your county clerk's office?
Give me a frickin'
The SAVE
break.
Act is meant to save Republicans' electoral butts come November because their policies are so unpopular. Remember, the SAVE Act is part of a larger attack on voting, where Trump wants Republicans to nationalize elections, and he plans on sending in gun-toting masked agents to threaten voters at the polls.
Okay.
The
okay.
DWC.
All right. Just do me a favor. Just go make me a sandwich, please, and make sure that my shirts are ironed. Thank you. The battle lines are drawn with women's groups mobilizing, but Republicans have polling data that tells a very different story. Representative Russell Fry, proving who you are to vote isn't radical, it's basic. 84% of Americans agree. So why is the Senate stalling? Time for them to take up the SAVE Act, put every senator on record, and stop playing games. This is Representative Russell Fry.
You know, Washington, D.C. is a funny place. Things that are not controversial to the American people are somehow strangely controversial when you get into the Beltway. I don't understand it. Take something as fundamental as your right to vote and showing your identification at a polling place. This is easy. 84% of the American people support showing your ID in order to vote, making sure that you're a citizen that can vote in our elections. That's not controversial. 71% of Democrats also support that. So why is something like the Save America Act, which requires you to prove your citizenship, requires an ID at the polls, why is that controversial? It shouldn't be. Democrats are standing in the way of something as fundamental as our right to vote because they don't want it. And they can't explain why. If you watch the word salad of, say, Kamala Harris or any Democrat, they cannot explain why other than to say things like this is voter suppression. That's a total myth. When South Carolina adopted voter ID, Democrats said the same thing back then, that this would suppress voter participation. Guess what? It actually grew voter participation. Most recently, in Georgia, when they were going to do the same thing, Democrats said this was Jim Crow 2.0. Guess what happened? People voted, minorities voted in higher numbers than ever before. And so this myth is easily disproven, and it's something that the Congress should take up. The Senate should vote on the record whether they support having voter ID and citizens voting in our elections. This is easy vote, and the Senate should take this up immediately and put themselves on the record.
But will they? Will John Thune bring it to the floor? That's the question. 84% number is crucial, showing Republicans think they have public opinion locked up, but Democrats are pushing back. Representative Jim McGovern claims that Republicans are trying to pass the SAVE Act so they can cheat in the elections. You can't make this up, guys. I believe that's there's a term for that. It's called projection. Yes, Democrats are always accusing others of what they themselves are trying to do.
Now, Republicans know their ideas are unpopular. They see the writing on the wall this November, and instead of trying to win fair and square, they don't want to, they want to cheat. They're hoping that this bill will pass and will make it so hard to vote that many American citizens will just give up. Not on my watch, not on the watch of my Democratic colleagues, and I hope there are some Republicans here who will stand with us on this. Too many people have fought too hard to secure the right to vote for everyone in this country. Generations of people have fought and died for that right, and we will not let Republicans use bullshit claims and lies about voter fraud to rip the right to vote away from American citizens.
My favorite part is about these hearings is when they're always reading off their notes. Some staffer put that all together. Of course, just outright lies coming from this guy's mouth. His accusations are flying. Wait to see how Congressional Black Caucus is escalating this to a full civil rights battle. Lindell TV, Congressional Black Caucus claims civil rights are under attack. Oh yeah. Members of the Congressional Black Caucus argued civil rights and voting access are being threatened, pointing directly to President Trump and legislation like the SAVE Act. Oh boy, here we go.
Yes. Across the country, our communities are voicing deep concerns about the threat posed by Donald Trump and his allies. Today, our democracy, economic opportunity, fundamental freedoms, and access to the ballot box are under attack. Over the past year, we have seen a concerted effort to roll back civil rights, undermine voting access, dismantle social programs, and concentrate power in the hands of the wealthy and well-connected at the expense of our communities. From weakening the Voting Rights Act and advancing voter suppression measures like the SAVE Act, to politicizing the courts and sowing fear and division through actions cause real and disproportionate harm to Black communities. Instead of working to lower the rising cost of living and create real pathways to economic security and advancement, the Trump administration has been working overtime to take our country in the wrong direction. Today, under Trump's historically unpopular leadership, Black unemployment has reached a staggering 8.3%, the highest since the height of the COVID pandemic, undoing progress made through intentional investment and inclusive economic growth. Attacks on the Affordable Care Act continue to threaten health care for millions in our communities, putting life-saving coverage and access to prescription medication.
Yada, 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 yada. And now we have this just in. One America News, looks like Representative Anna Paulina Luna now blasting Senate leadership. Uh-oh. Yep. John Thune is not listening.
Congresswoman, you have been trying to shoehorn the SAVE Act into just about every piece of legislation south of a Mother's Day resolution. And we just got word from Senate Majority Leader John Thune that he is not going to force Democrats to stand up and do a talking filibuster. What does that say about his leadership in the Senate?
I think that it's very disturbing that he is not listening to not just what the Republican voting base wants, but America in general. This act, voter ID, is one of the biggest bipartisan issues, I think, from banning insider trading that we've seen in a while. And yet you have both John Thune and Chuck Schumer agreeing on this issue that they don't want to put it on the floor, which is very odd. I think that if you're going to depend on President Trump's coattails to get elected to office, if you are going to say that you're a Republican, and then if you are going to turn around and complain that I'm bullying you in the House for wanting to pass the SAVE Act, which is common sense legislation, very low-hanging fruit and the right thing to do, then maybe you should consider getting a different job.
Wow. I had a feeling this was going to happen. Roadblocks in the Senate. John Thune. Wonder who's donating to his campaign. Speaker Johnson had this to say on the Save America Act.
They want illegals to vote. That's why they opened the border wide for 4 years under Biden and Harris and allowed in all these dangerous people. It was a means to an end. The end is maintaining their own power. Their policies are so unpopular. They are refuted and repudiated at the ballot boxes over and over. And so they feel like they've got to cheat. Frankly, that's it. They've got to allow illegals to participate in elections so that they can continue to win. We got to stop that, and we have an obligation and a duty to do it under the Constitution. It is existing federal law that only American citizens can decide American elections, and we've got to make sure that we can enforce that law, and that's what this is all about. So it's a very important battle for the future of the country, and we are not going to let up on it.
Let's go. Who cares what Thune tries to roadblock? Johnson throwing down the gauntlet on illegal voting, but new evidence is emerging that could reshape the entire debate. Election records destroyed in violation of federal law. New revelations show Michigan election officials were ordered to destroy public election records 7 days after certification, despite federal law requiring preservation for 22 months.
Supposed to be preserved in that qualified voter file for a period of not less than 5 years, and they are deleting these records. And matter of fact, against that backdrop, our Michigan Secretary of State has issued a directive to all of our election officials, all of our clerks in the state, that within 7 days of certification of the election, they're supposed to destroy all poll book records. Now, just so you know, the poll book is part of the audit trail. So if you don't trust the data that's up in the state records with the qualified voter file, then the next step, you're going to go off and check into the poll book records for all the municipalities to see what they are showing as being uploaded into the state record as part of the audit trail. And notice how the Secretary of State has ordered the destruction of those materials within 7 days of election. That's in direct violation of federal law, which is under United States Code, Title 52, Section 20701, which requires that those records be preserved for a period of no less than 22 months. So, guys, at the very least, you've got unlawful acts being occurring. But I would submit that not only do we have evidence of election fraud, we have significant evidence of election fraud, not just in Fulton County with 22,534 vote mismatch, but in Michigan, where you had 499,850 vote mismatch in an election reportedly decided by 154,188 votes. That is significant in both cases. And Maricopa and Wisconsin, and Maricopa County in Arizona and Wisconsin, and also in Pennsylvania, similar stuff, even in Nevada as well. This is happening all over the place.
And that's exactly why we need these laws in place. We cannot let them steal more elections. The Michigan record allegations are explosive timing, and there's more evidence coming from Philadelphia. Here it is. Real Robert writes, a criminal conspiracy between Democrats, including election officials and NGOs. A Philly election clerk caught on hidden camera admitting that illegal aliens can vote in local elections, and non-governmental, government-funded organization across the street backed them.
James O'Keefe here in North Philadelphia on 5th Street. Right here is the Philadelphia City Commissioner's office the day before Election Day, and across the street is an NGO called Saiba. That's Saiba, and they are telling people to vote. They are telling people that all you need is what's called a TIN number. That's ITIN number, and you can vote if you're not a citizen of the United States. So we sent an undercover reporter to this NGO right across from the place where people are early voting, and she got confirmation.
Yo sí puedo votar, aunque no sea residente ni ciudadana. Sí. But when I say resident, that means of the entire United States. But you're just worried about Philadelphia. Oh, you don't care about anything else. You just want them to have a resident of Philadelphia. After that, you confirm that, you register, whether you have a social security number or not, you can vote.
Do you need any more evidence? Elon Musk weighing in. The Democrats are importing voters. It's very important to understand that they really are doing this at scale. It's a fact. It's not rhetoric. And he presents a New York Times article. New York moves to allow 800,000 non-citizens to vote in local elections. New York City will become the largest municipality in the country to allow legal residents to vote if the legislation is approved as expected in December. Legal residents. What about citizens? The Philadelphia hidden camera story adds fuel to Republican arguments, but Democrats are fighting back through their biggest names. Elizabeth Warren is intentionally trying to mislead you on the SAVE Act. All they can do is lie. Warren's pushback shows how high stakes this is getting. Here's the press secretary on the Save America Act.
Can obviously speak for the president, who is quite possibly the strongest supporter of the Save America Act, which, as you know, would require proof of citizenship to register to vote. It would require proof of identification, a photo identification before casting a ballot. And it would also ensure that there are exceptions made. I think that's what you're alluding to with these conversations with House Republicans for reasonable requests, of course, for our military, for individuals who are disabled and cannot make it to the polls. Those are reasonable, common sense things that I believe House Republicans are discussing amongst themselves. But as for the president, he's been very clear. He wants House Republicans and Democrats, too, if they were politically wise, to pass this legislation, for the Senate to pass it, to send it to the president's desk so it can be signed into law.
And now it is all up to the Senate. The president is making a priority, but Democrat leadership is not backing down. Here's Jeffries trying to flip the script. True to form, blames Republicans.
You said that the SAVE Act is not going to pass the House, but a vast majority of Americans, including 70% of Democrats, do support having voter ID requirements. So are Democrats on the wrong side of an issue with so much support? What's the path forward for Democrats here?
Republicans are clearly on the wrong side of every single issue.
Oh, yes. No, Hakeem. He's deflecting, but individual Democrats might be breaking ranks. John Ossoff now claims he's for voter ID, despite being against it publicly for years. He's just trying to get reelected, which is par for the course.
Open to things like voter ID, if in fact they correct some of the other issues like early voting?
Absolutely. I think it's right and appropriate, and the widely held view of folks in Georgia and across the country, that we need to be able to make sure we're confirming the identity of folks who are participating in elections.
So in 2021, he did agree with 71% of Democrat voters that voter ID is a good idea.
John Ossoff in 2021 agreeing. Now you saw Democrat Jim McGovern accusing Republicans of trying to cheat by passing the SAVE Act. Think about that insanity. Requiring proof of citizenship to vote is somehow cheating. Remember, they always accuse others of what they're doing. Now the mask is completely off. They need non-citizens voting to win elections. Now, the SAVE Act isn't about suppressing votes. It's about protecting the integrity of American elections. Democrats built their entire strategy around opposing basic election security. And now they're caught flat-footed as their own voters demand common sense reforms. Ossoff's flip-plotting, Jeffries dodging questions, Warren spreading lies. They know they're on the wrong side of this issue. The American people want secure elections with verified citizenship requirements. Trump and Speaker Johnson, they're fighting for exactly that while Democrats scramble to cover their tracks. This battle will determine whether American citizens or foreign nationals decide our elections. So do you believe only American citizens should vote in American elections? Check out the Next News merch shop for gear that shows you stand with election integrity. All right, moving right along. No more super chats to speak of at the moment. Maybe that will change. Maybe you will be the next one to have your super chat read before the masses. We're going to get to our next story because we got to talk about what's going on with this booming Trump economy now. Just waiting for my cue from Brian here. Maybe I moved a little too quick for him. I don't know. Brian, did you get hit with a pan over there? Okay. The January jobs report just dropped a nuclear bomb on every Trump hater in Washington. Private sector jobs absolutely exploded past all expectations, while federal employment hit its lowest level since 1966. But the mainstream media is desperately trying to bury the most important detail that proves Trump's economic revolution is working exactly as promised. Now, this is not about numbers on a spreadsheet. This is about your family's future. When private sector jobs surge by 172,000 while government bloat shrinks to historic lows, that means more money in your pocket and less waste in Washington. Your tax dollars stop funding endless bureaucracy and start fueling real economic growth. Now, politically, this destroys every Democrat talking point about Trump tanking the economy. Remember, they spent 4 years telling you Biden built back better. But Trump just proved in 1 month that America First policies create real prosperity. And the establishment's panicking because their big government gravy train is being dismantled in real time. And speaking of some major developments happening right under our noses, we got some breaking news that's quietly breaking. Most people missed it completely. While headlines were focused on job reports, the Trump administration just released documentation that could fundamentally reshape America's entire mining sector. Now, this is real. It's unfolding right now under Executive Order 14241. This goes far beyond typical policy changes. We're talking about a complete transformation of how America approaches critical mineral independence. Now, the implications are actually staggering, especially for companies positioned at the center of this revolution. Vizsla Copper, one of them, been tracking these developments very closely. What they've uncovered will shock you. Now, the executive order isn't just reshuffling bureaucracy. It's actually creating entirely new opportunities in sectors that have been deliberately suppressed for decades. Now, smart money is already moving, but most Americans have no idea what is coming. Now, the window to understand and position yourself will not stay open forever. The connections between economic independence and resource independence, they run deeper than most people realize. And there's a special briefing that's been prepared just for you, linked down below. And we thank Vizsla Copper for supporting our work here. But here's the part that should terrify the Democrats. Kevin Hassett has revealed that labor force participation just hit its highest level since 2001. That means Americans who gave up looking for work under Biden, they're flooding back into the economy under Trump. The construction sector alone added massive jobs thanks to President Trump's $18 trillion investment deals. This is not luck. This is a systematic destruction of the entire swamp economy. New job growth surging in January, adding 133,000 total non-farm jobs and 172,000 private sector jobs, shattering expectations once again. Listen.
On-farm payrolls for January coming in twice expectations at 130,000. 130K, that would be the juiciest going back to April of last year when it was 158. Now, if we look at a couple of months worth of revision, they came in at minus 17,000. Now, let's look for average hourly earnings month over month, up 0.4. That's 1/10 higher than both looking back and looking forward. 0.4 would equal October last year. You are all the way back to the summer of 24 to find a higher month-over-month earnings number. Let's go year over year. 3.7 exactly as expected. 1/10 light to 3.8 in the rearview mirror. So how does that stack up? 3.7 would be the lightest since it was actually 3.6. Thanksgiving of last year. Now let's look at hours worked, shall we? 34.3. That increase, that's a good thing. That's up 1/10 from both what we were expecting and our last look. 34.3 would equal November. To find a higher one, you're all the way back to March of 24. Now the unemployment rate may be the most important number of all, and it moves down 1/10. 4.3%. All the naysayers out there, they're going to like this set of data points. 4.3 would be equal to where we were in August of last year. To find a lower number, you're looking at June of last year. Labor force participation moved up as well. More good news, 62.5. That would be the best since it was 62.6 in April of last year. And drumroll please, the final number I'm going to give you is U6, the underemployment rate, and it comes in at 8%. 8%. Last look was 8.4. 8% would be the best going all the way back to July when it was 7.9.
Wow. President Trump is winning. This is the Trump economy. The reaction validates the explosive numbers and explains why the specific job growth pattern matters for Trump's economic vision. Here's Stephen Moore.
For the last year, private sector employees employment is growing, Maria, and public sector, especially federal jobs, are shrinking. That's exactly what we want to see. Right. We want to see the government shrink and private sector job growth. And by the way, Maria, this is exactly the opposite of what we saw under Biden, where we do these jobs reports every month. And one of the biggest increases in employment was federal hiring, and that's what led to these big deficits.
And that is basically President Trump and wanting to shrink
a reorientation of the economy
Absolutely.
to private businesses.
Yeah.
Let's go, baby. It's only getting better now. More sets up the comparison. But we need expert confirmation that this was really extraordinary performance. Professor Stange on the January jobs report shattering expectations. It was a blockbuster report.
It was a blockbuster report. I was surprised. Sort of the meta story here has been that we've already gotten the pain on jobs, meaning 2.5 million deportations, federal layoffs, slower federal spending. The problem was that the drivers of jobs, so Fed cuts and reshoring, Trump's talking about $4 trillion plus of incremental factory investment, those all take a long time. They can take years, in fact. Taiwan Semiconductor is taking 40 years on their factory out in Arizona. So I expected continuing sort of paper weakness. This was blockbuster.
Blockbuster, baby. Let's go. The professor confirms it's blockbuster. Let's dive into the specific sectors. More from Rapid Response 47.
A lot of people would say this is starting off the year on the right foot because we're seeing 130,000 jobs added for the month of January. The expectation was just 70,000. We also saw the unemployment rate falls to 4.3%. The expectation there was 4.4%. Take a look at where we saw jobs added and lost. Healthcare, 123,000 added. Also, professional and business services and construction, adding 34 and 33,000 jobs respectively. A lot of people probably like to see that. Losing jobs for the month, financial activities. And here you go, government down 42,000 jobs. Revisions for the months of November and December show 17,000 fewer jobs were added than first believed. And also coming out today, Stuart, the Labor Department cut prior job numbers stretching back nearly 2 years. Looking at 2024, the last year of the Biden administration, the U.S. produced only 1.2 million jobs versus the previously estimated 2 million jobs. So weaker coming out of the Biden administration than we expected, that we first believed, rather.
Lydia breaks down the sector details, but there's an even bigger story about how government workforce transformation under President Trump. Federal employment has declined to its lowest level since 1966, the lowest level in recorded history as a share of the total workforce. Federal employment at its lowest level since 1966. Yeah, Doge, anyone? This historic government shrinkage sets up perfectly for the administration's victory lap on their strategy. Here's the NEC director, Kevin Hassett, on the jobs report.
What happened is that there were a lot of Wall Street analysts who were predicting that a reduction in the labor force was going to make a bad number. And in fact, CNBC had a headline saying that the jobs number is going to be zero. Bloomberg had a headline saying the jobs number is going to be zero. And private sector jobs, which is our main focus right now because we've been reducing government employment, they went up 170,000. They absolutely blew out any expectation whatsoever. So it's really a remarkable, strong number. And to put it in perspective, to get that much job creation while, that basically the labor force is declining some because people are leaving the country and being deported is a really remarkable thing. The bottom line is I'd say there's three facts that I think that I really hope that the viewers would think about. Thing one is that we've been hearing this story that artificial intelligence is going to take away people's jobs, right? Well, in this report, labor force participation is the highest it's been in the United States since 2001. And so we actually have more people going into the labor force than we've seen in 2 decades. And so that this AI effect is not there. The next thing is that the government employment, because President Trump's team has given people early retirement and so on, and the Doge movements early in the spring, that we've reduced government employment, federal government employment, by 360,000 or so people. That's the lowest share of the labor force that's working for the federal government since 1966. And what that means is that $29 billion this year.
What that means is the swamp is draining, folks. Oh, whoops. I don't want that.
Less will be spent on government salaries, and that helps reduce interest rates and balance the budget. So there's a heck of a lot of good news in this report.
There is a heck of a lot of good news, right? Okay, what happened here? I hit a button and then there we go. Okay, I got it back. All right. The sound of the swamp draining. I love it. Hassett delivers the administration's perspective, but notice how the press secretary is signaling there's something media outlets are missing. Caroline Levitt, this fact alone deserves the attention of every mainstream media reporter today. She quote tweets, "Real E, J, and Tony. This is the real story out of today's jobs report. Trump was handed an economy that was losing private sector jobs and adding government payrolls, but he successfully flipped the script, and 1 year later, it's all private sector growth while cutting government jobs." Look at that. The press secretary's tease builds to Hassett's most comprehensive take on what this all actually means.
Force participation, the percentage of Americans that are looking for a job or have a job, actually went to its highest level since 2001. So actually people are coming back off the sidelines into the labor market because they see the high wage growth, all the factory starts and so on. And so that's thing one. Thing two is that because we've been reducing government workers, federal government workers so much, about 360,000 this year, that the jobs numbers actually kind of understate how wonderful the economy is doing because the government worker employment has been and to put it in perspective, that we've got the lowest government worker number since 1966 and the lowest share of government workers in the labor force in all of history. And so we have done something really, really dramatic in downsizing government. And what that does is it helps us be fiscally responsible and get interest rates lower. Now, the bottom line is that I've been saying on your show really since we started over a year ago, Stu, that I think that we're going to have a big positive supply shock and that we could have high growth and low inflation. Right now, we've got high growth and low inflation, and I think there's plenty of room for the Fed to cut rates because this theory about why you would lift rates right now because of high growth is an old-fashioned Phillips curve story that doesn't really apply when you get a big positive supply shock from AI or the internet. Alan Greenspan understood that back in the 90s, and let's hope that some people at the Fed understand it now.
Yeah, and the Fed maybe? How about that? How about that? Has to paint a big economic picture. Now watch how this translates to specific policy wins.
People say their expectations, well, we were surprised, but really when I think about it, we've added construction jobs are up, manufacturing jobs are up, and that's been a testament to the investments of $18 trillion that the president has negotiated and brought back to the American people and the American economy. I've mentioned I have been on the road. I'm going to visit my 48th state tomorrow out of the 50-state tour. We're seeing the application of what the workforce is being offered by their employees. They're investing in hiring. We are reskilling. We're upskilling. We've been focused on the apprenticeship program. Over 330,000 new apprentices have been registered with the Department of Labor since Trump's Labor Department took office. I mean, when I think about the dedication that we have done on the ground, we're seeing those in those numbers.
So the mainstream media called it a blockbuster report, but they're burying the real story. Stephen Moore nailed it. Private sector growing, public sector shrinking. The exact opposite of Biden's government-first disaster. Now, Trump isn't just creating jobs. He's fundamentally restructuring the American economy away from bureaucratic bloat and towards productive prosperity. Yes, the swamp is literally shrinking. So the jobs report, it proves that America First economics work exactly as designed. Well, Democrats expanded government and killed private enterprise. Trump is unleashing the productive capacity of the American people. Federal employment at 1966 levels means your tax money stops funding desk jockeys and starts funding real economic growth. The establishment media will spin this every way possible, but they cannot hide the truth. Trump's economic revolution is dismantling their bloated bureaucracy while creating real prosperity for working Americans. The swamp is being drained through pure economic force, and there is nothing that they can do to stop it. So do you think this jobs explosion proves that Trump's policies work better than big government socialism? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're there, check out the next news merch shop. All right. Let's see what we've got going on here. Any more super chats? No new super chats to speak of at the moment. And let's just keep going right along. More news on the Epstein front. All right. We are winning. That's right, Pothead Kenny. I like the beep. Oh, you do? Well, it's not intentionally supposed to be heard. In fact, we had that tone is supposed to be like a subsonic thing that's you're not supposed to hear. Only computers can hear it. But we had to make some changes, and then hopefully we can get that tone to disappear. But it's not that obnoxious, is it? I don't know. Let's see here. Okay. You know, I'm just going to, Brian, I'm just going to, from the back end here, I'm just going to send some of these up the back. You can take a look at them. 'Cause I'm just not liking the way some of these are coming out. Oh, I see. Okay, I understand why some of these are. Okay. Let's see how that works. Okay. Ready to go. The Epstein files just dropped a bombshell that the mainstream media is desperately trying to bury. New documents revealed that Donald Trump was actively cooperating with police about Jeffrey Epstein 20 years ago, calling Ghislaine Maxwell pure evil and telling cops, "Thank goodness you're stopping him." Meanwhile, Democrats who screamed about investigations for years have been mysteriously silent about the FBI redactions. And why? You see, this completely destroys the left's narrative about Trump and Epstein. For years, they painted Trump as complicit. But these documents prove he was helping law enforcement from the very beginning. While Trump was warning police about Epstein's behavior and banning him from Mar-a-Lago, where were the Democrats? Not one word. No, not one word to Merrick Garland about releasing these files at all. Not one question about the redactions. They only cared about Epstein when they thought it would hurt Trump. Now that it vindicates him and potentially exposes their own allies, suddenly they're nowhere to be found. Of course, the hypocrisy is staggering. Speaking of things being buried, there is another story that the establishment does not want you to know about. While headlines focused on the Epstein files, the Trump administration just released a document that could fundamentally reshape America's mining sector. Now, this is real, and it's unfolding right now under Executive Order 14241. Most people completely missed it, but this goes far beyond typical policy changes. We're talking about a strategic shift that could secure America's mineral independence for decades. Now, the establishment media won't cover this because it threatens their narrative about American weakness. But companies like Vizsla Copper, they are positioned at the center of this revolution. Now, they're not just mining copper. They are mining America's future. While other nations control our supply chains, Vizsla is developing domestic resources that could break those chains forever. Now, this is not speculation. It's actually happening right now. The question is whether you'll hear about it before it's too late. Now, that's the kind of strategic thinking that America needs, and it's exactly what we are seeing with these revelations. Now, there's an exclusive briefing that's been prepared just for you. It's linked down below. You need to check it out. We thank Vizsla Copper for supporting our work here. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Some tech wizard claims he wrote the code that can unredact the entire Epstein file database in 30 seconds. Now, if that's true, we might be about to learn about why the FBI was so desperate to keep certain names hidden. It's probably not Trump's name they're worried about. Plus, Anna Paulina Luna is now talking about bringing new charges against Epstein's co-conspirators. Yes, the dominoes are starting to fall. The British Patriot says Trump played them again. Elon Musk drops that Trump is named in the Epstein files. Democrats freak out and demand a full release. Trump publicly acts reluctant against releasing them, and President Trump signs off on the full release. The final batch drops and reveals Trump is innocent. This sets up the trap, the perfect trap. Now Democrats who demanded transparency suddenly go quiet when the files actually expose FBI corruption instead of Trump. Ro Khanna writes, Trump's FBI scrubbed these files in March. The documents Justice Scott had the redactions that the FBI made back then. This is a violation of Massey and My Epstein Files Transparency Act. They need to unscrub the FBI files so we know who the rich and powerful men are.
We played that clip where you and Congressman Massey said there are at least 6 men whose names have been redacted who should be incriminated by their inclusion in the files. Can you elaborate more on that? I mean, is it clear was that part of the group that was redacted in the first place?
No, that is not part of the group. It doesn't look like that was part of the group that was redacted in the first place. There are certain documents that say there are 10 co-conspirators, 15 co-conspirators. In that document, some of them were women. Now, I don't know if those women were survivors or not survivors, but we give the benefit of the doubt to justice. Maybe those were survivors who also happened to be co-conspirators and they appropriately redacted them. But there are 6 men in those documents, some of them foreign-born, a couple of them in the United States with their pictures, and there's absolutely no explanation for why they were redacted. Now, we just discovered 6 men in a 2-hour review. My guess is there are more of those people, and we are going to petition the Justice Department to release that. That could have been incompetence and a cover-up. The broader cover-up, though, that I'm concerned about is the scrubbing that took place in March in the FBI files, where all of this redacted information was then sent to the Justice Department. I think U.S. attorneys looked at it in good faith, but they were looking at documents that were already redacted. So when I said to the Justice Department person, who was very nice, helping me search through the documents, I said, why are these redacted? He said, well, sir, we got them this way. So we just are putting them up in the form we got them. And that is the big issue that needs to be addressed.
Ro Khanna on CNN. His revelation about the FBI redactions opens the door to something bigger, new criminal charges against Epstein's network. Anna Paulina Luna reveals how the new charges could be brought against Epstein's co-conspirators and suspected clients after viewing the unredacted files.
Your revelations this morning are now breaking the internet, and I just want to tee you up here.
Referencing Snow White, the little girl is naughty, all of Yeah, so I actually went in with a number of members of Congress. I'm actually going to be heading back today. I went in yesterday, and I spent some time looking at some of the most widely circulated emails. As you know, some of these emails, and I have my notes actually right here, had included, ages 10 and 11.
Yeah.
There was that famous redacted email referencing Snow White, the little girl is naughty, all of these things. So I actually went through. And what I found, to my surprise, as well as other members of Congress, to include Democrats, saw some of these were coming from women. Now, the reason for the redactions that we're being told is that these are alleged victims, and then also even some of those beef jerky emails that are also very weird, also coming from women as well. Now, what Jeffrey Epstein and what has become apparent is that he was using his victims, ultimately grooming them to become traffickers. But at a certain point, I think it begs the question, if you are knowingly, as an adult, engaging in potentially the trafficking, maybe even more nefarious acts with children, potentially resulting in bodily harm, etc., at what point do you no longer become a victim and are now a co-conspirator? What's been interesting, though, is that I think that the statute of limitations, remember, the Jeffrey Epstein saga specifically is decades of information that's been compiled. And so there is certain statutes of limitations of which the DOJ might not be able to prosecute. However, if they use a civil rights statute, they can, to my knowledge, bring forward prosecutions. And it has been interesting because some people are saying, well, in order to get other names, remember, there's millions upon millions of files, but in order to name names, is it possible to potentially give immunity to some of these victims, not Ghislaine, but some of the victims, in exchange for testimony and naming names? Remember, we still have not received names from those victims directly. We were promised them. I also understand, though, that there is an active lawsuit with Deutsche Bank. But clearly, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Clearly, there's some very disturbing information. But what's been so horrifying to observe in all of this, Benny, is that you have victims that were then turned to traffickers. You clearly have instances where children were being discussed, and very disturbing emails, as everyone is publicly going into and diving into right now. But also, too, there's this aspect of this that has become political. And so if you're looking to truly receive justice for everyone involved, and then you see that people are taking certain things, knowing that we can see redacted information and then coming out and trying to implicate the president of the United States, obviously that's disturbing. But when you have ABC and multiple outlets, to include Forbes, being forced to report that the president essentially was largely responsible for Epstein's takedown, I think that that pretty much says everything that needs to be said pertaining to the president's involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. And so we know that he really helped helped lead the charge. I just hope that people can stay focused on the issues at hand here. And I really am going to encourage the Department of Justice to consider using the civil rights statute to bring forward prosecutions and hopefully get justice for these victims.
Yeah, okay, so talk me through.
So Luna's bombshell about potential prosecution gets more explosive when you see what the tech bros are doing to crack the redacted names. Some dude on the internet says he wrote 25 lines of code that unredacts all the Epstein files in 30 seconds. Could be real, could be BS. But if he actually did it and suddenly goes quiet, we know what happened. Let's see what this guy's saying.
25 lines of code that can probably unredact all of the Epstein files in less than 30 seconds. Really not that crazy. All it does is take a PDF and turns it into a Microsoft Word doc, because the Microsoft Word doc just completely removes all this black line right here. So took 0.2 seconds to do 2 documents. Before I end the video, I would just like to mention that I am not suicidal. I am a great swimmer, and I look forward to living my life well into my 80s.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Apparently Deepak Chopra was confronted for being in the Epstein files. If they're not called out by the court, they should be called out by citizens, says Mario Nafal.
Mr. Chopra, sir, how are you? Sir, I've got to ask you, listen, sir, you built your entire career. You built your entire career on spirituality. What do you have to say about your actions with Epstein? Any regrets? You have any regrets? I said, do you have any regrets about your relationship with Epstein? What's that? You want me to decide? No, I'm asking you, sir.
Well, you give me your opinion.
Look, what?
You have a right to your opinion.
Look, I'm asking you, sir. When did you know the scope of Epstein's actions, sir? And why did you keep the relationship going for so long? Is there anything you could say? Mr. Chopra, anything at all? Sir, you had a relationship with him after 2008, after his conviction. Is there anything you can say about that at all, sir?
You do your own work and find out.
I am. I'm asking you. I'm coming right to you, sir.
I'm not answering.
Oh, well, I'm asking. You don't have to answer.
I'm not answering.
Sir, you said God is a construct. I know. I'm going to ask. You don't have to answer. That's fine. God is a construct, and cute girls are real. You know, it wasn't tone, sir. It was more than tone.
More and more people being confronted about their relationship with Epstein, but that amateur coder's claims leads us to the smoking evidence that completely vindicates Trump's role. CBS Evening News.
Epstein files released 11 days ago now and still generating new headlines. Among the latest is a document showing that in 2006, President Trump spoke with Palm Beach police about their investigation of Epstein, saying, quote, "Thank goodness you're stopping him." Here's Justice correspondent Scott McFarland.
A newly surfaced record in the Epstein files alleges Trump told a Palm Beach police chief 20 years ago about Epstein, "Thank goodness you're stopping him. Everyone has known he's been doing this." And that he was around Epstein once when teenagers were present, but got the hell out of there. That contradicts Trump's claim he was unaware of Epstein's crimes.
What did Jeffrey Epstein mean in his emails when he said you knew about the girls?
I know nothing about that.
The White House press secretary could not answer if the account was true.
Look, it was a phone call that may or may not have happened in 2006. I don't know the answer to that question. What I'm telling you is that what President Trump has always said is that he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago club.
Thank you, Chairman Moran. Trump's Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick was also pressed today on his past with Epstein.
We had lunch on the island. That is true, for an hour, and we left with all of my children, with my nannies and my wife.
Lutnick acknowledged he traveled to Epstein's Island in 2012, despite earlier claims he'd cut ties in 2005.
I don't recall why we did it, but
Mr.
we did.
Secretary. Wow. Lutnick getting grilled. I don't recall why we did it. I'm sure we'll have some more answers, but CBS accidentally proves Trump was helping law enforcement, which explains why creative minds are now turning this into viral content. Epstein files got vibe coded into DataViz app on Replit. One bro just turned the entire document into an interactive conspiracy web. The global impact spreading like wildfire, but here's where it gets political. Watch Trump's new AG dropping the hammer. The Epstein files have created waves around the world prompting apologies and resignations. What are the links to Germany and the government looking into potential wrongdoing? Here is Pam Bondi.
You know, all they want to do, all the American people need to know this. They are talking about Epstein today. This has been around since the Obama administration. This administration released over 3 million pages of documents, over 3 million, and Donald Trump signed that law to release all of those documents. He is the most transparent president in the nation's history. And none of them asked Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know why? Because Donald Trump, the Dow right now is over, the Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
Mr. Jordan, Mr. Jordan.
Committee will be in order.
Mr. Jordan, am I going to get an extra 45 seconds added to my time?
The committee will be in order. The time belongs to the gentleman from Texas. Ms. Bondi, the Attorney General can respond.
Thank you. The Dow has shattered 50,000 for the first time. This is crazy. They said it couldn't be done in 4 years, yet President Trump has done it in 1 year. National median rents have fallen to a 4-year low thanks to Donald Trump. That's why they want to focus on Epstein and our most transparent president in the nation's history. The murder rate, as I said, has plummeted to a 125-year low thanks to Donald Trump. For an unprecedented 9 straight months, there were 0 illegal border crossings at the southern border.
So she is moving on to the greater things that the Trump administration is doing, despite the persistence to try to nail Trump to the wall. Her accusation about Democrat hypocrisy sets up the final revelation that Trump was not cooperating, wasn't just cooperating, he was actively hunting Epstein's network. New Epstein document, Trump was contacting police about Ghislaine Maxwell.
This document really shows is that Donald Trump, even though he wasn't contacting the federal government, he was contacting the police, and he was making, very clear that he had some concerns about the way that Ghislaine Maxwell was behaving. He described her as pure evil, and I think that it just goes to show that way far back, even in the height, whenever investigators were really just starting to look into Epstein back in around 2005, 2006, it was something that Donald Trump, he had on the top of his mind that he didn't want to be around this guy. And I just think that that's a excellent little bit of information that the public is getting out there, because it's really showing that the president has, since the very beginning, as soon as he knew
more about Epstein's interpersonal life. That was something that he did not think belonged around his properties or Mar-a-Lago. So I think that was very interesting to see that come up.
Sure. Remarkable that the big news organizations in this country just keep feeding that narrative, though. Trump's name is in the documents. Trump's name is in the documents. And so what? Not in any tawdry way, not in any illegal way, not in any way other than what we just saw here, where he was helping the investigation along. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, it's something that at this point, being merely named or mentioned in the Epstein documents, if you're someone that cares about the subject, but you're still on that elementary level tear saying, oh, someone's name is in the documents. I got news for you. There's a lot of people's names in the documents. Even my name shows up in the documents, albeit it's a different context because I'm a journalist and there's different DOJ records that come up there. But it's a big dragnet is the point. And that's why there's so many things out of context. But I will say on the actual investigation onto, perpetrators or potential co-conspirators, things like that, Bondi did give us a little nugget of information that I think is important to leave off on. She did say we have pending investigations in our office without getting into any specifics, but just said that there are some pending investigations. And, it's giving this intrigue about whether there's any conspirators that might be being looked into. The reason why I think this is important because we already saw Pam Bondi said several months ago that there was an SDNY investigation that was reopened into Epstein. So I think that's something to pay attention to going forward.
So 20 years ago, Trump saw evil. He called the cops. Democrats saw the same evil and stayed silent until they could weaponize it politically. Now the truth's coming out. Their silence is deafening. They don't want justice. They want a political weapon. The Epstein files just prove they picked the wrong target and protected the wrong people. And this is why Trump won. Americans are tired of the lies. They're tired of the cover-ups and tired of politicians who only care about justice when it serves their agenda. Trump was helping cops investigate Epstein while Democrats were probably at the same parties. And now they're scrambling to control the narrative. But it's too late. The truth has a way of surfacing, and when it does, it exposes everyone who tried to bury it. The question is simple. Do you trust the man who called the cops on Epstein, or the people who stayed silent? Let us know in the comments, and while you're showing your support for the truth, check out the Next News merch shop. All right. Topic 2. What? That's weird. Let's see what happens here. Okay, go back up to topic 2. Wow. Weird. Okay. All right. Huh. There's nothing there. Interesting. Okay. All right. Moving into our final topic of the evening. Okay. Let's see where we're at now. Oh, no, no new super chats. Okay. A powerful movement is erupting across social media as Black Americans are speaking truth to power about the Democrat Party's actual historical record on race. And what they're revealing will shock you. And it's actually backed up by hard historical facts that the mainstream media refuses to discuss. The numbers don't lie, and neither do the courageous voices calling out the decades of deception. Now, this is not just about history. This is about the future of American politics. When foundational black Americans wake up to the truth about which party actually fought for their freedom, which party opposed it at every turn, the entire political establishment could crumble. We're talking about a complete realignment that would expose the biggest lie in modern politics. The Democrat Party has built their entire identity on claiming to be the party of civil rights. But what happens when their own voters discover that Republicans passed the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments while Democrats voted against them? This awakening threatens to unravel 70 years of political messaging. Speaking of things that threaten the establishment, there is something else they do not want you focusing on. Some breaking news tonight. There's a metal that most people never think about, but governments and defense contractors, they track it every day. Now, I spent years watching gold and silver, but the opportunity that stopped me cold sits just a layer deeper in critical minerals, and one metal above all others, titanium. While everyone's distracted by political theater, smart money is quietly positioning in the materials that power our national defense, our military jets, our space programs, nuclear reactors. They all depend on titanium. You see, China controls most of the rare earth mining, but America still has titanium reserves. The question is, will you act before the strategic advantage disappears? Now, Saga Metals is the only company I trust to navigate these critical mineral investments. And when the establishment falls apart, physical assets remain, so don't let them catch you unprepared while they're busy covering up their own lies. Because while they're lying about history, they're also lying about your financial future. So make sure you take a look at the exclusive briefing that has been prepared for you. It is linked down below. We thank Saga Metals for supporting our work here. But here's what's really incredible. These aren't just random social media posts. We're seeing organized, articulate voices presenting actual constitutional facts that completely destroy the Democrat narrative. One powerful video explains how the party is literally trying to replace foundational black Americans with immigrant communities because they know the truth is coming out. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is documented history meeting modern political reality. So, this man did a great job of explaining how the Democrat Party is trying to replace the black community with immigrants because we are waking up to their evil ways. Listen.
All my black brothers and sisters, if you can't tell by now, the clear plan of the Democrats is to replace us with immigrant communities from around the world. And the reason why is because foundational black Americans ideologically have never been and still are not liberals. And once the black community as a whole wakes up to this, we will stop voting for Democrats. I'm sure of it. And the people who run the Democratic Party have been aware of this for a very long time. Hence the need to replace us over time. The reason why most black Americans traditionally have not been ideologically liberal is because most of us were raised with the worldview that coincided with biblical teachings. And this is something within the black community that we should be proud of and cling to. Many of us can see in real time that there is an effort to remove God and biblical teachings from everything we learn in school and also everything we see in entertainment. And this connection with God and biblical teachings has always been a strength of the black community in America. Think about it. What gave our ancestors the strength to keep fighting throughout all the things they went through? It was the understanding that God was going to make a way, no matter how bleak the circumstances looked at the time. And if there's one thing I want my black brothers and sisters to understand in current day, it's that we are our ancestors, and we need to embrace that. Modern day progressive thinking has convinced the black community as a whole that we need to reinvent the wheel. But if you ask me, I think if the black community would just lean further into our roots, we would see a seismic positive shift. And you may ask, well, what are our roots? The answer is very simple, and most of us actually know our roots intrinsically, but we never actually think about it. Our roots are our grandparents, our great-grandparents, our great-great-grandparents, and the things that they did. Like going to church every Sunday, going to Bible study on Wednesday nights, being selfless and making sure that others in the community have what they needed. Working hard for what we have and being grateful that we have it. These are the characteristics that have always made up the black community up until recent history. And we have the ability to be successful independent of any other ethnic group helping us out. And I know this because we've done it before. Like I stated in multiple other videos, the 100 years following the Emancipation Proclamation was a clear blueprint on how the black community can be successful in this country. A lot of people ask me, how can we change the black community in America and make it better? And I think that the answer to that question lies really within our roots and what we've done in the past.
Deucey Gold, laying it out there. Now we're seeing broader accusations about Democrat strategy. Watch how this escalates. The complete nut job in Congress, Representative LaMonica, you've so embarrassed yourself and stained the halls of Congress. Democrats are the problem.
Let me ask you some questions that you may be able to answer. Mr. Lyons, do you consider yourself a religious man?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes. Okay, well, how do you think Judgment Day will work for you with so much blood on your hands?
I'm not going to entertain that question.
Oh,
ma'am.
okay, of course not. Do you think you're going to hell, Mr. Lyons?
I'm not going to entertain.
Of course not. How many government
The gentlelady will
agencies-
suspend. The
how many-
gentlelady will suspend.
Chairman?
A gentlelady will suspend. As I said, the issues we're debating here are important to ones that members feel deeply about.
Thank you,
While
Chairman.
vigorous disagreement is part of the legislative process, members are reminded that we must adhere to established standards of decorum and debate.
Wow.
The witnesses are here voluntarily, and I will continue to remind members that while oversight is important, aggressively attacking those witnesses personally is inappropriate and not in keeping with the traditions of our committee.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just asking a question. You guys are always talking about religion here in the Bible. I mean, it's okay for me to ask a question, right?
Oh, wow. Are you going to hell? How's Judgment Day going to be? Rapid Response Report 47. Representative LaMonica steps completely out of line and gets corrected during the committee hearing. The criticism is spreading Congress members directly. Tensions are rising. Representative Brandon Gill. The Democrats want Minneapolis-style riots nationwide.
Democrats are willing to do whatever they can to thwart ICE and to stop the president from deporting illegal aliens, which is what he was elected to do. You know, what Democrats want to do is they want to turn every single city in this country into Minneapolis. They want it to be one American cities to be consumed with riots and violence that Democrats can then weaponize against Republicans to get us to back off of our immigration agenda, and we're not going to do that. We're not going to allow Democrats to hamstring ICE. We're going to take our country back, and we're going to continue to keep the border secure and to deport illegal aliens.
These aren't isolated voices. It's becoming a coordinated message. When they tell you President Trump is getting rich being president, remember, he's the only president to leave office with less money. Yeah, look at that. Net worth before and after presidency. Bill Clinton, 1.3 million before, 241 million after. Mm-hmm. George W. Bush, 20 million before, 40 million after. Barack Obama, 1.3 million, 70 million after. Donald Trump, 3 billion after 2.3 billion. Joe Biden, 8 million after 10 million. Even unrelated political topics are getting pulled into the narrative. Democrat Party is the enemy of the American people, says Marcus 6396.
Sweetheart, I'm a foundational Black American. Yeah, I'm black, blackity, black. I'm so black on my birth certificate, it has me listed as a Negro. Let me give you a little quick education. Because I know you believe you believe everything that the Democrats have been feeding you since birth. But let me give you a quick education. Did you know that it was the Democrats who were the party of slavery? It was the Democrats who were the party that stopped Lincoln from giving out the 40 acres and a mule to Black people, to the newly freed slaves. It was the Democrats who instituted Jim Crow. It was the Democrats, here, listen closely, that opposed every single amendment, every one, for Black people to be freed and to get any kind of civil rights. The Democrats were the ones who did that. But somehow or another, they managed to fool you. They managed to stick the banana in the tailpipe, and you fell for it. Most of us fell for it. That it's the Republicans that are the racists. No, sweetheart, it's the Democrats. Everything bad that has happened to our community lies at the feet of the Democrats. Actually read your real history and quit listening to these people. It's the Democrats.
Historically, the two largest destroyers of life have been Islam and communism. Republican Army posts this, and the Democrats have embraced both. Very telling. Bill Mitchell, Black Voice drops truth on Democrats. Powerful clip hits hard. It's the Democrats. Everything bad that's happened to our country lies at the feet of the Democrats. Black Voices dropping truth all over the web today. 13th Amendment abolished slavery. 100% Republican support, 23% Democrat support. 14th Amendment gave citizens the 14th Amendment gave citizenship to freed slaves. 94% Republican support. 15th Amendment, right to vote for all. 100% Republican support, 0% Democrat support. Here's another one.
Can we talk about the fact that the Democrats are the true racists? Or can we talk about the fact that they're the ones that authored the most legislation that is detrimental to the Black community? Do I have to mention the Great Society Act, which separated Black families and made Black women whores to the government? Or the 1986 anti-drug abuse bill, which locked Black men up disproportionately? Or the 1994 bill, which made states build prisons all over to put them in? And I know you guys don't want to talk about the fact that they're the ones that authored the Jim Crow laws. They're the ones that were responsible for placing poll taxes and literacy tests so Black people couldn't vote. Y'all don't want to talk about that, do you? And I know you guys don't want to talk about the fact that the Republicans were the ones that fought to end slavery and were fighting for your Black ass. Not to mention that the first Black representative in Congress was a Republican, and also the first senator was a Republican as well. Oh, and also, yeah, more Republicans voted for the civil rights than Democrats. Hope this helps.
These videos exploding all across social media today. The Republican Party was founded in a tiny schoolhouse in Ripon, Wisconsin in 1854. The purpose to stop Democrats from expanding slavery across America. Every American should remember that. Gunter Eagleman says she's right. The real racists are the Democrats. All over, these voices continue. Hey, look, it's the Democrats and their supporters. I mean, anyone with a brain knew this. Yeah, that is the Democrat Party right there. Makes perfect sense. Here we have another one. Democrats are the only party against Trump. No matter if it's good for America, they won't agree on any issue our president tries to solve. The Democrats are the problem.
Did you know that Trump offered 2 paths to citizenship for Dreamers during his first term, but it was the Democrats who rejected it? Well, that's the problem with the Democrats, is they'll spend all their time and energy to try to stop Trump from getting a win, even if it means a win for their own people.
Trump's first term, he offered 2 deals for Dreamers. In 2018, a path to citizenship for 1.8 million Dreamers if Democrats funded a $25 billion border wall. They said no. In 2019, during the government shutdown, Trump offered 3-year protection for 750,000 Dreamers plus TPS holders for $5.7 billion in wall funding. Democrats rejected it again, calling it inadequate. Democrats claim they're the party of immigrants, but their track record? Empty promises since the 80s, record deportations under Obama, and rejecting deals that could have helped Dreamers. Republicans are clear. They prioritize border enforcement. But Democrats, are they even serious about immigration reform? They're the ones making the promises. Why can't they deliver?
So the 13th Amendment that abolished slavery, 100% Republican support, 23% Democrat support. The 15th Amendment giving voting rights to all, 100% Republican support, 0% Democrat support. These aren't opinions, these are historical facts that destroy 70 years of lies. The awakening is happening, and it is unstoppable. Now, the truth about America's racial history is finally breaking through the lies, and it's coming from the very communities the Democrats claim to represent. When foundational Black Americans discovered that Republicans were the party of abolition, while Democrats were the party of slavery and segregation, everything changes. The constitutional amendments that freed the slaves and guaranteed their rights passed with Republican support and Democrat opposition. That's not opinion, that's documented history. These rising voices, they're not just sharing facts, they're exposing the greatest political deception of our time. Now, the establishment media won't cover the story because it destroys the entire narrative, but social media is making their gatekeeping irrelevant. Do you think this historical awakening will finally break the Democrat Party's grip on communities they've been lying to for generations? Check out the Next News merch shop and let me know your thoughts. And there you have it, tonight's Raw Feed, connecting the dots the establishment media desperately wants to keep separate. We open with the Mexican cartel drones forcing an unprecedented 10-day airspace shutdown over El Paso, a terrifying demonstration of how Biden's open border policies have surrendered American sovereignty to foreign criminal organizations. When the Pentagon must deploy counter-drone operations against cartels operating with impunity on our soil, we've crossed into territory no previous administration would have tolerated. Meanwhile, Democrats perform Olympic-level gymnastics opposing the SAVE Act's basic election security measures. John Ossoff now claims he supports voter ID after years of fierce opposition, while Hakeem Jeffries deflects every question about overwhelming bipartisan public support. When 80%... I was trying to hold that back. When 80% of Americans support common sense reforms and Democrats still resist, their desperation becomes obvious. And President Trump's economic policies continue delivering results that make establishment media squirm. I'm going to sneeze again. Thank you, guys. January's job report shattered expectations with private sector employment surging while government employment drops to 1966 levels. Exactly what America First economics produces. Kevin Hassett reports labor force participation at its highest since 2001, combining robust growth with controlled inflation. Construction jobs boom thanks to massive domestic investment flowing back into American communities instead of foreign nations. And those newly released Epstein documents reveal Trump actively cooperating with law enforcement, contacting police about Ghislaine Maxwell's suspicious behavior years before federal authorities acted. These files show Trump describing Maxwell as pure evil and making clear he wanted nothing to do with Epstein's operation. And where are the mainstream media headlines about Trump's cooperation? Well, of course, the silence is deafening when evidence contradicts their narratives. Most powerfully, courageous black Americans are speaking truth about which party actually authored legislation devastating their neighborhoods. Everything bad that's happened to our community lies at the feet of the Democrats. That's what they're saying. These aren't Republican talking points. These are Americans examining history and identifying the real architects of destructive policies. The 13th Amendment received 100% Republican support while Democrats fought to maintain slavery. Civil Rights Acts passed despite fierce Democrat opposition, yet through masterful propaganda, Democrats convinced communities to forget who actually stood with them during freedom's darkest hours. These aren't isolated incidents. They're symptoms of the battle between America First patriots believing in sovereignty and constitutional principles versus globalist politicians who spent decades undermining American strength while enriching themselves. And just like February 11th, 1990, when Nelson Mandela walked free from Victor Verster prison, inspiring freedom movements worldwide, today's revelations about Democrat deception and Trump's vindication represent another moment when truth breaks through decades of manufactured narratives. Thank you to everybody supporting us tonight through Super Chats and Rumble Rants. You guys make our show possible. Don't forget to grab some merch at the shop, at the shelf down below the video. Remember, the truth emerges when patriots demand accountability over narratives. I'm Gary Franchi. This has been the Raw Feed. Stay free.